on some 2x4s, 2 men the fence after a storm. Get a day's worth of hay where the cattle graze, some red dirt on the floorboards, you truck it. How'd you get to a Saturday, parking like one hotel gate, with a cooler packed above 30 rats, everybody ready for the game, trucking. Gets 20 to the mile, 50 for a tank, you can call me crazy, I don't care what you think. It's hollow ground in my escape, speakers cranking Skinner on the interstate, with the tires humming, the V8's rushing, nothing else can touch it. If you don't understand, trucking. Gets the kids to school at 9 a.m. It's where my girl sits on the weekend. Throw a blanket down, the best seat in town for a movie at the drive-in. Trucking. Gets 20 to the mile, 50 for a tank. You can call me crazy, I don't care what you think. It's hollow ground in my escape, speakers cranking Skinner on the interstate, with the tires humming, the V8's rushing, nothing else can touch it. If you don't understand, trucking. Take it out in the mud, listen to that engine run. Gets 20 to the mile, 50 for a tank. You can call me crazy, I don't care what you think. It's hollow ground, it's my escape. Speakers cranking Skinner on the interstate, with the tires humming, the V8's rushing, nothing else can touch it. If you don't understand, trucking.
There we go.
From Los Angeles, I'm Tom Lamog, an instructor with the Cyber Chapter for Guitars for Vets and CAVARTS, a community for veterans. Welcome to Song Sung True, a Veterans View, where tonight we feature the stories and original songs of Scotty Hasting, a combat-wounded Army infantryman, actor, Nashville singer-songwriter. Scotty is also an ambassador with Guitars for Vets.
Yes, sir.
Sir, shot 10 times while on patrol in Afghanistan in 2011, Scotty is the epitome of resilience. He suffered nerve damage in his right arm and hand with multiple other injuries. Before music, Scotty used the sport of archery to assist him with his injuries as a form of therapy, both physical and mental. Since then, Scotty has moved on to find solace in a new form of therapy, music. Scotty uses guitar and music to help him cope with the struggles being to war brings. Scotty has limited mobility in his right hand, which he strums his guitar with. Scotty's written with multiple known country artists, veteran singer-songwriters, and up-and-comers in the country music world. He loves to write songs and also enjoys playing live at local bars throughout Nashville and the surrounding areas. Sir, Scotty, welcome.
What's going on? How are you?
I'm doing great. Hey, let's go back to your song, Truck It. I just want to say it rocks.
It is such a fun song. It really is. It's such a fun
What's
song.
the story behind that song?
You know, it's funny. That's the very first song that I ever put out. The very first one that I ever recorded in like a legitimate studio. And it was just a song that I just wanted to write with my buddies, and we just wanted to have fun with a song. I had a bunch of love songs, and I was like, man, I want to write something fun. I want to write something in your face, like roll your windows down and just blare it. And Yeah, that's what we came up with. And it's funny because I told my girlfriend when I got into this music stuff, I was like, I don't want to write a song about trucks, and I don't want to write a song about beer. And now I got the first song I ever wrote and ever put out was a song about a freaking truck. So I was like, man, all right.
Well,
but
I'm telling you,
it's so much fun.
I heard it the first time. It just caught my attention. It was
it's such a fun song.
This is awesome.
Absolutely.
Well, fantastic. It's great to have you here. I know, you've been through so many different interviews, whether it be in the radio or online or even in the magazines as well too. And I've had an opportunity to actually go through some of that. So some of the stuff that we're going to talk about, not a lot of people know about. So we're going to, kind of go back over time, actually talk through a number of things that are related to your military career, through the recovery process, and even to present day. So there's a lot to cover. So, I'll tell you what. Let me just go ahead and go back a few weeks when we initially crossed paths. And this was, it was a Guitars for Vets live event with Gary Talley of the Box Tops of all things. And I had heard from our chapter coordinator, Paul Lilley. He had mentioned to me that he wanted, to bring you in to actually do a show. And it's kind of like, well, all right, that sounds great.
Yeah.
Paul, I think it would be great to have you. So a few days later, I had traveled to Phoenix and I had found this is like Super Bowl weekend. And I thought, okay, well, I guess I better start, getting to know, what it is that Scotty does. And lo and behold, on your site, on your Facebook page, you write something cryptic about going to Phoenix during Super Bowl weekend. You got to share that story.
It's incredible. So it was cryptic because we were only allowed to say so much at the time. And but what ended up transpiring was that I actually played a show for a Crown Royal private event that was 2 days before the Super Bowl in Arizona, and I opened for Dave Grohl of the Foo Fighters. So it was such an amazing event because it was for veterans, and there were easily over 100 veterans there, and it was such a blast, man. It was such a great time.
It came right out of left field too. The way you shared that with me, it was,
and it came out of left field for me too. Some friends of mine with Creative Vets reached out to me and they were like, "Hey, we have this partnership with Crown Royal," and they reached out to us and they want a veteran singer-songwriter out there. Would you be interested? And I was like, yeah. I mean, you didn't have to ask. You could have just been like, "Hey, we have a ticket here for you whenever you're ready to go." And I would have just went, like, absolutely.
Needless to say, I went back to Paul after I found out that you were in Phoenix the same time I was. And it wasn't necessarily for going to the Super Bowl. And it's like, I reached out to you. I said, "Hey, Paul's thinking of having you. Is there any chance that we can get together and maybe swap stories about, coming on the Guitars for Vets, our show, and just talk a little bit?" And as it turned out, we met up, we had some breakfast, and
absolutely,
not too much longer after that, I got the real sense of who Scotty Hasting is, a real storyteller. Truthfully, there was something that you had said, a buddy of yours said that comes to mind. Do you remember what that was that you told me about a storyteller and
I don't know. There's so much that we've talked about since then.
Either you're a good storyteller.
All about being a liar. Yeah. So in order to be a good songwriter, you got to be a good liar. Absolutely. 100%.
I don't know who I was sitting at the table, but it was really, it was kind of like, oh, great. So now I know something about.
Someone told me that once, and I was like, what? You're either got to be a good liar or you're just going to tell everybody everything about your personal life. So,
well, we will let the people who are joining us on this live event make the choice. Is it a storyteller or is he well, I don't believe that he's a liar, but then you be the judge. So let's go ahead and get right into it. Let's talk about the story and when it begins. When does your story about choosing the military as a career, when does it begin for you?
Actually, that was something that I had wanted to do for a long time. And I just kept pushing it off. One thing got in the way, and then there was something else that got in the way. And then I was playing semi-pro baseball at the time. And then I realized that I wasn't making any money. And the person that I was with supported me in this. And joining the military. And I was like, well, shit, now it's time to go. So I went. When I had got there, of course you get to the MEPS building and they're like, well, you can do this job and you can do that job and you can do this. And I was like, no, like, I'm sorry for everyone out there who isn't combat, MOS, but to me, being someone in the military, it was that I wanted to fight. For me, growing up, the soldiers were the ones that were out there fighting, and that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a fighter. I wanted to go there. I wanted to take the fight to the bad guys. I may have been a little bit too excited to go, because I should have worked a little bit harder, because by the time I got there, everyone was like, oh yeah, man, I got a sign-on bonus and all this other stuff. I should have fought harder, be like, no, I don't know if being infantryman is what I want. I should have let them offer me a damn signing bonus, because I would seem like the only person who didn't get one, because I knew what I wanted, and I should have fought harder for that. I should have made them give me a damn sign-on bonus. Dang it.
So, wow. Well, how would you know? How would you know until someone's?
I didn't know until all these kids younger than me were saying how much money they were getting for a sign-on bonus. Oh. And I was like, man, I messed up.
Well, so moving, farther into that timeline itself, I just want to go ahead and let you know that one of the interviews that I heard you talk through was with the gentleman with the contagion effect, which was really such an awesome interview, guys. Mike and Eric, shout out to you.
For real.
But you made it through boot camp, and then you got word from your superiors about deployment, and maybe you could share a little bit about what you remember what you remember about telling your loved ones about what was happening.
So it was funny, actually. The first time that I ever told them that I had joined the military, I was at the MEP Center, and I was about to ship out for basic training, and I didn't tell them about joining the military. I didn't even talk to them. I was just like, nah, this is what I'm gonna go do it, and that's it. So the first time I told my mom was on the way, or waiting in the hotel, I think, on the way, and then I called my dad, and he was like, what do I need to do? Whatever I need to do, I'll get you out of it. Whoever I need to call. And I was like, Dad, this was my decision, man. No one's putting a gun to my head. Like, this is what I want to do. But yeah, I mean, it's still funny. The way that he reacted, man. He was like, I'll call. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Whoever I need to call, I'll get a hold of him. But yeah, I mean, after graduating basic training, like within 3 or 4 weeks, man, I was in Afghanistan. I went to Fort Riley, Kansas, and we were deploying really, really quickly, and it happened. So, yeah.
Well, I'd like to preface the next part of your story with an excerpt from an article from Hannah Ray Lambert. She's a writer for Coffee or Dime magazine. It says, on April 21st, 2011, Scotty Hasting was serving as a grunt in the U.S. Army's 1st Infantry Division when he and his platoon approached a suspected bomb maker's home in the Kandahar province of Afghanistan. Using a metal detector to check for improvised explosive devices, Hasting was leading his platoon up to the target when he noticed an old man pacing outside a hut, watching the Americans intently. When the old man disappeared behind a building, Hasting got a bad feeling. Take us there, back to that time, Scotty.
Yeah, so we walk up to the hut, and everyone in Afghanistan, they want to watch you. They want to know what the heck you're doing. There's always people around that want to see what you're up to. And then usually they just, once they realize that you're not there to bug them, they'll just kind of go on with their life and do whatever they want to do. But this guy was definitely watching what we were doing. He would come out, he would check us out for a little bit, and then he would go away, and then he would come back out and see if we're still there, and then go back around to his hut. And but at that point we realized, yeah, this guy is absolutely trying to figure out what we're doing. He's 100% here to watch us, and could be sharing our movements. And so we decide to basically go a different direction. And as we're walking up, and I realized that the older gentleman had stopped trying to figure out what we were doing, and he completely disappeared. I realized then that something was about to happen. That when everyone disappears, usually something they know what's going on in that area. a lot more than we do. So usually when everyone disappears, something's about to kick off. So as soon as I said, hey, I talked back to my, looked back to my guys and told them, hey, the old guy, he disappeared. No one knows where, I don't know where he is. Anyone see him? No one sees him. He's gone. Be ready for something. And literally 30 seconds later, I saw a guy standing behind the wall, and I kind of like looked at him, and he just looked like another guy who was just trying to figure out what the hell we were doing. And then I went back to doing what I was doing, my Valen operation with the metal detector, and I saw him move really quickly out of the corner of my eye. As soon as I saw him move really quickly out of the corner of my eye, I squared up to him like we're taught in the military. You square up and then you pull your rifle up. I dropped my Valen, squared up to him. By the time I squared up to him, he had already started firing. He was probably 10 meters from me, and he was too close to miss. He basically just opened fire and went up my body. So I got shot once in the thigh, 4 times in the hip, or 5 times in the hip, 4 times in the shoulder. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So
bad
day. Pretty rough day.
Just an understatement. You're lying there, obviously. I remember in the interview with Mike and Eric, you were talking about, all right, you are lying there, and what was happening in your mind at that point?
I'm lying there, and it was, in the military they teach you that going into shock is going to be the thing that's going to kill the most people, right? Like that is 100% a battlefield killer, is going into shock. And there's a good chance that me getting shot as many times as I did, I knew that I was messed up, and I just literally just tried to stay calm. I tried to tell jokes with my buddies. I tried to literally just do everything I could to try to not think about what the hell just happened and how bad I am and the pain that I was in. Thankfully it worked, because I'm here. But yeah, I mean, it was a fight. It really was. It would have been so much easier to give up, honestly. I could feel it. I could feel like this sense of almost like wanting to go to sleep, but like where you're just incredibly tired, and it was just fighting that urge to want to just drift off. And at some point I had lost so much blood that I actually lost my eyesight, which is, parts of your body shutting down to preserve the important parts, right? Your eyesight isn't really important. What's important is that your heart beats, and that. And so I consider that like seeing the light. When people talk about seeing the light, that's kind of what I think, because when my eyesight shut down, it was just kind of like a white film. It was like a bright white film, and yeah, it's incredible. So
listen, we're at our first song opportunity, and I know that when you and I are talking about the song "Runnin'," this ties into some of the story that you had just shared with us. What else can you add about "Runnin'" that you'd like to share before you?
Yeah, so "Runnin'" is supposed to be an impossible song for me, because of being shot in the shoulder, in the brachial plexus where I was shot at. I have nerve damage in my hand, so I have very limited movement in my hand. I can't feel anything in my hand here. So like when I touch the strings, I can't tell that I'm touching the strings. So this took a very long time, and it should be an impossible song for me because of the fact that I can't feel my fingers. And I'm finger picking this song, which is pretty damn hard, honestly. So if it sounds weird, it's because, don't worry about it. I just can't feel my fingers. So
we know the story.
That's what I try to tell people when I play it live. I'm like, listen, if it sounds off, just don't worry about it.
All right, Scotty, go for it.
Thank you. This is actually an unreleased song. It's going to be released sometime this year. Girl, I've been a selfish fool, drowning myself in 90 proof. But honestly, I swear it's true, I'm running. And I've come to understand, I was holding matches in my hand every time another bridge was burning. Now I'm running, angel, I'm running. Oh, I'm running home to you. A woman with lesser faith would have had all that she can take. Yeah, your patience sure is something. What kind of love is that? You give more than you get back. Lord knows I don't deserve it. Now I'm running, angel, I'm running. Oh, I'm running home to you. Baby, lead a porch light on. It won't be that long. I'll be home before the morning. Where I take off my boots is where I'm gonna plant my roots. I won't be a rambling man no more, 'cause I'm running, angel, I'm running. Oh, I'm running home to you. Yeah, I'm running, angel, I'm running. Oh, I'm running home to you. Now I'm running, angel, I'm running. Oh, I'm running home to you. But yeah.
That's fantastic, man.
Thank you, thank you.
You did just fine on that guitar, my friend.
Yeah, thanks. I'm still learning it, man. I spend still every day. I feel like I learn something new on this damn thing every day. Honestly.
Sure. Hey, we're talking with G4V Ambassador Scotty Hasting, combat wounded Army infantryman, actor, and Nashville singer-songwriter. So, Scotty, let's move forward in the timeline itself and talk about rescue and recovery.
Yeah.
That process itself. I read an interview that you gave to Bridge Magazine in June 2021 about the rescue efforts, being sent for treatment in Germany and then later being shipped to the States.
Yep.
What do you remember about that experience?
You know, I know my girlfriend loves this part. So after I got injured, I went to Kandahar, and that was where I received my immediate, my life saving. Let's get him to where he's not going to die, and then we can move him. And the trauma center there, the people were incredible. I remember when I got to the trauma center and they started working on me and they started giving me blood and kind of cycling blood through my system again. That's when I started getting my eyesight back, which was incredible. And then once I told them that I was starting to see again, I heard some woman lean in and tell me that it was okay for me to go to sleep, and literally I passed out. At some point, I think it was like a day after, they had gotten me to where I could travel to go to Landstuhl. When I got to Landstuhl, actually in between Kandahar and Landstuhl, they had to make an they had to make an emergency stop because the artery in my arm, in my shoulder that goes into my arm, it had gotten nicked, so they lost pulse in my arm. They thought they were going to have to take my arm. Thankfully, they didn't. They took a vein out of my right leg and replaced the artery with that vein, which is, I mean, honestly, modern medicine is incredible. Like I can't believe that's because when I learned in like anatomy class and health class, like arteries and veins are completely freaking different, man. Like I learned, I don't know what these doctors learned, but what I learned was that they were completely separate things. But apparently a vein will grow into an artery if the need arises, which is incredible. So yeah, went to Landstuhl, and I always say it, my girlfriend loves this part, because the people who hired the nurses in Landstuhl need a medal, because the nurses in Landstuhl are so freaking good looking. I don't know if it was the fact that I had been in Afghanistan for however many months, or if they were really that good looking, but whoever hires those people, way to go. If you're listening to this, you did good. Good job. Because wow. And so went to Landstuhl. I think I was there for maybe another day, and then once I got to where I could travel even further, going back to the States, I ended up going to Walter Reed, the original Walter Reed, and then I was at Walter Reed for a while, like 6 months, and we even made the transition from the old Walter Reed to the new Walter Reed. But yeah.
Wow. Now, this process, I mean, really the recovery process has tested your resilience. And the stories that you have shared so far, it rings of resilience in ways you probably never imagined. Now, I remember there's something you and I talked about when we met in person about Walter Reed. Something that a shout out of some sort. Did you want to take a moment now to do that shout out?
I don't remember what it was. Was it about the Marines?
Gary.
Is that what we're talking about?
His name's Gary. Sinise.
Oh my God, yeah, Gary Sinise. Listen, all right. So listen. Here, hold on. I want to meet Gary Sinise so damn bad. So if someone knows Gary Sinise in this,
yeah, I thought so.
You need to get a hold of him because I was at Walter Reed, and we pushed my surgery back as long as it could possibly go because Gary Sinise was in Walter Reed, and I wanted to meet him, but he never got to my room in time, and I ended up having to go into surgery and then missed him completely. So I want to meet Lieutenant Dan. Like, someone hook it up.
Oh my goodness! All right. Yeah. Well, now I just wanted to make sure because I
thank you for reminding me. I need to throw that out there more. Absolutely.
I guess I better write this down. This might be important.
Yes.
So through this entire process, what was your family told? I mean, can you maybe recall some of the conversations that could have happened with your friends and family?
You mean like from the time I got injured to
the whole recovery process. Yeah.
God, man, there were so apparently there were two different people telling my wife at the time and my he usually performs. Listen, Brian, hook it up. All right, so normally there were two different people telling. My wife was receiving one bit of information and my mom was receiving another bit of information. So there were two different people giving two different accounts to two different people, and it was it was really just a huge cluster of crap. And they told them as much as they knew, and the only issue is they only knew so much. So, it could be like, hey, your husband was shot multiple times and now he's in intensive care. We don't really know what's going on, but this is it. And, unfortunately there's only so much that they're able to say.
Sure.
Because they only know so much. And it was really rough for them. I know it was, until I called, my mom and my wife at the time and told them that it's okay. But yeah.
Man, oh man. You emerged through that process. You finally got to the point where you were able to resume active duty.
Yeah.
And in some of the interviews that I heard you be a part of, there were some hard choices that needed to be made. Some of those choices had to do with boundaries. Can you talk a little bit about, the possibility of returning to active duty to something that you wanted to do versus what happened?
Yeah. Yeah. So, so once I finally decided, but my guys were coming back, so I made the decision that I wanted to be back at Fort Riley. Once I got to Fort Riley, I mean, it took an act of Congress to get from Walter Reed to Fort Riley. They wanted me to finish my career out at Walter Reed and then, medically retire from Walter Reed and then go about my life. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to go back and be there when my guys got back. So luckily I had a congressman that was a ex-Ranger, and he said, absolutely, we're going to make it happen. He wrote a letter and it happened. Yeah, when I got to Fort Riley, I was still in the healing process. And that was when I found adaptive sports and archery and all that. But while I was still in the process of healing, and I was in the wounded the Warrior Transition Battalion is what it was called. Now it's called like the Soldier Recovery Program or something or Soldier Recovery Unit, something like that, SRU, something like that. But I was in the Warrior Transition Battalion, and I basically fought the whole time to stay. Thank you, babe. SRU, yes. And so I basically just stayed and I fought. I wanted to remain active duty. I wanted to go back to a line unit. So I pushed and tried to make it happen. I got to the point where I was able to work out, and I found workouts that I wanted to, that I could do even with the limitations that I had. And I actually am one of the only people that I think I'm still the person at Fort Riley who has done the reintegration testing, the physical part of it. Mm-hmm. I think I'm the one person who's done it the most. I did it 4 different times to try to get back into a line unit. And then after the 4th time, they were just kind of like, man, like there's really nothing else you can do.
Sure.
And, at that time, that was when it was, I was given the options of having to medically retire or staying in the Army and doing a different job. Honestly, I mean, with my limitations and my injury, it was all the jobs were sitting behind a desk. I mean, no offense again to anyone who did that in the military. That is just not what I wanted to do. That was not the career path. That was not the idea that I wanted to go down. And I decided that if those were the only jobs, that I wasn't going to stay in the military. And decided to get out. Decided to medically retire at that time.
Choices.
Yeah.
Tough choices. Hey, listen, so that brings us to your next song that you are going to kind of play for us. Thank you for bringing that guitar and even offering to do some of these live for us. Yeah. How Do You Choose is the tune. Maybe maybe you've seen on Scotty's site a few postings of some things that talk about this song, but you want to give us a little background, what we need to know about this song.
Yeah, so this song was actually a conversation that I had with my best friend's mom. My best friend was killed in Afghanistan whenever we were over there. He had stepped on an IED, and she had actually come to a show that I was playing here in Nashville. And, she hung out, and she hung out for the whole show. And we had this, this conversation afterwards and really just connected. And, had this, and after that night, I had this idea of, how do you choose, right? How does God choose? How does he make that choice? How how is it that I get shot 10 times, but my buddy steps on an IED and he doesn't come home, right? Like, how in the hell, how is that a decision that's made, right? How am I still here? And there's people who have, you know, been shot once and they don't come home. So how am I here? So this song was a little bit of, you know, it takes inspiration from that, but it also takes inspiration from the first time that I ever went and saw his gravestone for the first time. And this is honestly, this is the hardest song that I've ever written. It's the hardest one for me to get through, and yeah, I just wrote it recently, actually, which is crazy. It's a song that I had on my heart for a long time, but I was too scared to write, and it really took a good friend of mine to just be like, listen, like, just if you're gonna write it, make it worth it. And so I did. And yeah, my buddy, his name's Adam Hamilton, and this guitar is actually named after him. So this guitar is named Hammy. And
well, play some of it for us. Play as much of it that you want.
All right.
We're listening.
Rolling down the window, too scared to get out. How do you say goodbye to someone you thought you couldn't live without? My mind is racing with memories of who he was and how good everything used to be. Damn, that could have been me. How do you choose who comes back home, who goes under no gravestone? I'm just asking 'cause it makes no sense to me. Is it something that takes a little time? Does it even cross your mind? Or is this the way it has to be? Tell me, God, did I win or lose? Why am I here? He's there with you. How do you choose? My guilty conscience preys on my mind as I see the words they wrote after he left us behind. Now I'm on my knees. How do you choose who comes back home, who goes under no gravestone? I'm just asking 'cause it makes no sense to me. Is it something that takes a little time? Does it even cross your mind? Or is this the way that it has to be? Tell me, God, did I win or lose? Why am I here and he's there with you? How do you choose who stays here and who goes home? I'll never understand feeling this alone. How do you choose who comes back home, who goes under no gravestone? I'm just asking 'cause it makes no sense to me. Is it something that takes a little time? Does it even cross lost your mind, or is this the way it has to be? Tell me, God, did I win or lose? Why am I here when He's there with you? How do you choose? Oh, tell me, how do you choose?
Fantastic, Scotty.
Thank you.
Absolutely beautiful. I did, when we sat down and we talked over breakfast about singers, songwriters, and I had a chance to listen to the songs that you shared with me. You sent them my way, and I had to listen to them. And the first thing that comes to mind to me is I grew up listening to the LA singer-songwriter scene, and a lot of the writings that you do lyrically reminded me of that time when it actually tells not just superficial stories. These are deep stories. And I really appreciated the music that you've put forth. So that's just a fine piece of music.
Thank you. Yeah, I got that's another unreleased one that's probably hopefully going to be released this year. I got a bunch that are going to be released this year. So
we'll get to that. In the next segment here. But let's continue through your through your timeline. Is the return to civilian life. And what I remember you sharing with me also over breakfast was Nashville. And I thought the first thing I thought of, without really knowing you or your music, oh, he's in Nashville because it's because of music. But you corrected me and you said
I was not. No, I did not originally come to Nashville for music. I came here because my buddies were leaving Fort Riley and they were going to Fort Campbell, and I was like, why not? And it was closer to home, where I'm originally from, the Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky area, and I decided, I'm gonna go to Fort Campbell. I'm gonna go out to that area. I ended up coming here, and I fell in love with Nashville. I fell in love with the people. I fell in love with what Nashville is, what it represents, and I knew that I had to be there. And
now, is this where you started getting into sports more and more, or is that?
So at this time, I was very heavily into archery. I still am an active part of the Paralympic program, the pipeline for archery. I don't really shoot as much as I used to, but I do still shoot from time to time. And I also run, I run the Endeavor Games out of Oklahoma and the Turnstone Endeavor Games out of Fort Wayne, Indiana. And
you've won some awards as well too, right? I mean, I think. For some reason, I thought you are also the recipient of awards as well too. So you're good.
I'm good enough. I've won a couple medals. I've won a couple medals. I shot. The way it got started was I shot with the Army team, and I got handpicked by the U.S. Paralympic Committee at that time, and went and started doing that, and started shooting all over the country, and
Still at it?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, every once in a while, I'll usually shoot like one tournament a year now. I don't really, I don't, music is more where my heart is now. And really that's about it.
Give me 1 second. I just want to remind the audience that you're watching Song Sung True, a veteran's view. And I'm Tom Lamog, an instructor with the cyber chapter of Guitars for Vets and with CAVARTS, a community for veterans. We're talking to Nashville singer-songwriter Scotty Hasting, who is a combat-wounded Army infantryman, actor, and an ambassador for Guitars for Vets. And we're going to be talking about this story that you shared with me about how you established that association with Guitars for Vets in your guitar learning venture. So let's kind of transition over into your musical journey now that you've kind of, you've discovered that, all right, well, maybe guitar is something I want to do. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I do have to make a little bit of a correction. I do not run the Endeavor Games out in Oklahoma, out in Edmond, Oklahoma. I run the archery
Storyteller
portion.
or liar?
I run the archery portion of the UCO Endeavor Games and the Turnstone Endeavor Games. I am still involved in archery in that sense. And then, yeah, as far as
Good story,
as music,
though. Good story.
Yeah, thank you. As far as music,
Yeah.
man, it's COVID happened. I mean, really, that's how I explain it the best. COVID happened and archery was shut down. There was no archery. I mean, the world shut down, and I needed something. For the longest time, archery was my escape. It was my my way of getting out of my head. It was my way of basically not fighting the demons within. Conquer the battle within. I was conquering the battle within, and with archery. And when COVID happened, I didn't have that. I needed to find it. I needed to find a new way to fight those demons. And for veterans, a lot of times the quiet is the hardest, right? That's when the demons start coming, and the knock the loudest is when it's quiet. So I needed to find something to do. I needed to fill that time. I needed to find a new escape. I had always had a guitar sitting in the corner of my room, and I deep dove into learning how to play guitar on YouTube. Man, I learned on YouTube. I mean, I literally watched so many freaking guitar YouTube videos, and I still do. But I learned G, C, E minor, and D, and I got super, super comfortable with it. And then I learned how to use a capo, and then I realized, hey, I can play every damn song out there.
You discovered the magic.
I'm a guitar playing god. Look at me.
The hints are out now.
and then I slowly just started learning songs that I had grow up listening to. Really, I think the first song that I ever learned was "Should Have Been a Cowboy." Like a song that I grew up listening to. Like I know this song, and it's a super easy song to play. And I was like, man, like I could learn this. Like it's just a G, a D, and a C. Like that's lit. Man, I can learn this. And so I just started learning songs that I had grown up listening to because I knew the way that they were structured melodically. I knew what they sounded like. I knew how they had to sound. So I just started learning songs, and I kept learning songs. And then I decided, well, I'm starting to learn songs, and I know how to play G, C, E minor, and D. Maybe I can write a couple songs. So I started learning how to write stuff and really putting, my feelings at the time on paper. And, that's, yeah. I mean, it's insane. It's been an amazing run ever since. So.
There was something about, I think I want to say that you called up someone at Guitars for Vets, someone high at the top at Guitars for Vets, and you just kind of like, it was like,
so I was actively gigging at this time because the first time I had ever gotten on stage was I'd started learning, and I had learned all these songs, and I now had like a pretty good amount of songs that I knew how to play. And then I got like this thing on my phone that told me all the tabs, and I was like, dude, now I'm ready to go. So I decided that I wanted to go out and play somewhere. And the best part about COVID was that Nashville was completely shut down, but the outskirts of Nashville were not. So I could still go out and play. And I decided to go to an open mic and played one song. And I think it was "Should Have Been a Cowboy" was the first song that I ever played, and it literally it changed my life. I knew from that moment that no matter what I did, it had to be on stage and I had to be playing music. I had found that escape that I had found in archery, but it was magnified. I mean, it was that escape on steroids, and I was able to have it for 3 to 4 hours at a time while I'm playing music, as opposed to like 7 seconds at a time when I'm shooting archery. So it's literally that is my escape. That's why I do what I do, because for me it helps. I mean, that's my way of helping my mentals up here. Certainly
resonates with our crowd as well, too, with our audience. And
learning how to play guitar, I mean, it's learning how to play music in general, being able to, just a sense of accomplishment that you feel. It's therapy. It really is. And then you get into writing songs, and that's a form of therapy. And then you get into, playing live, and that's a form of therapy. I mean, it's it's incredible what, if you really give into music, it can give back to you. And it's amazing when you really find that. And there's been so many other things that have happened that have also given back to me that I'm sure we'll talk about. And but yeah, I mean, it's such an incredible feeling, man. I love it.
Hey, I just want to go ahead and throw out a reminder to everyone. If you have a question for Scotty, he did say that he would be happy to do his best to answer them in the closing minutes of our discussion. Go ahead and put them in the chat box, and then Paul Lilley, our fearless leader of the Cyber chapter, and CAVARTS will be reading them to Scotty. But for right now, hey, you've got another song that you said that you are ready to share with us forever.
Forever to me, yeah.
Forever
okay, so you have
to
this
me. I have the song. It's again. I think I've got most every song. I
That's true.
think.
So this song was a song that I wrote to my girlfriend. Okay, it is. And it is a song about second chances, man. I mean, that's literally my life has been a series of second chances. You know, a second chance in living, a second chance in a career, and going from, you know, shooting archery to now playing music out live and talking to a label that I'm talking to and making it a career, truly making it a career. And now a second chance on love. And literally this song is, to me, this song is about second chances and finding that second chance through somebody. Yeah, this is one of my favorite songs I've ever written. I absolutely love this song.
Well, grab that guitar.
You're playing it.
Yeah.
You're playing it.
No, I'm not. I'm playing your, the stories that they shared last. Do you want to play this one live? You want to?
No. I want
you
you
want
to
to tease? Oh, wait a minute. I don't
have the recording.
I know.
Absolutely.
I'm afraid I don't have it at my disposal at the moment.
How dare you, Tom? How dare you?
I guess you just have to come back.
I mean, I'm cool with that too.
Well, I'll tell you what. Paul, where are you, Paul? I'm gonna go ahead and cue you up, my friend, because can you tell us? Let's see. I'm trying to find where you're at here. If you can,
I'm here. I'm over here.
There.
What is going on?
There's his.
Right.
I can hear his voice, but wait a second. There he is. Hey, Paul, how are things looking on the question front?
Well, we have Mike who wants to know when Scotty's going to be in Phoenix. We have Karen who wants to know when Scotty's going to be in Butler, PA. And I'm betting Dale wants to know when Scotty's going to be in Findlay, Ohio.
Listen, let's make it happen. I mean, I don't know. I don't have any dates or anything lined up right now, but I'm always down.
I will be your recorder. I'll take care of your calendar. I've got your summer.
Okay. All right, perfect. I will be at was it Vet Fest, I think, in Nebraska on, I don't remember exactly what day that is, but I will be playing at Vet Fest. I think Jason might be able to help me out with that a little bit.
So Gary is talking a little bit about.
There we go. September 9th, Vet Fest.
September 9th. Okay. So Gary's talking a little bit about the how powerful music is as medicine, and you kind of mentioned that.
Hero Stock. That's right. I'm sorry, Jason. My fault. Hero Stock. It's not Vet Fest anymore. It's Hero Stock.
Hero Stock.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Scotty, I was really struck with how resilient you are. I mean, you've not only come back with physical injuries, but the level of trauma that you saw. We work with a lot of combat vets that they're really struggling in a lot of different ways. You talked a little bit about how music kind of helps with that, but I just kind of have a question about where does your resilience come from?
Man, I honestly have no idea. I just don't let anything stop me. I basically put my mind to something and I'm like, well, I'm either going to figure it out and I'm going to fail miserably, or I'm going to be okay with it. It frustrates the hell out of my girlfriend because she's like, you just jump into stuff. Like you just don't care. You just go for it. And, really that's it. I mean, I guess to me, it's more of, almost dying kind of opens up your eyes a little bit, you know, getting shot and really like being right there, right to that point of to where it could be over. It kind of opens your eyes at the sense that, you know, if you want to do something, just go do it. You know, like what's stopping me from doing it? You know, especially if it ain't gonna hurt nobody, why not? You know, you know, that's kind of really where it comes from. It's just more of I'm too hard headed to take no for an answer, so I just kind of go and do it. You know, I think especially in this industry, you have to be incredibly hard headed, as well as you know, as well as very, very, very determined in what you want to do. You know, this industry, especially in Nashville and being in the music industry, it will absolutely chew you up and spit you out, and it happens all the time. And really, you just have to be willing to put in more work than everybody else. And at the end of the day, I'm not scared to do the work that I need to do to get to where I am. You know, coming from the military, you understand that everything that you do takes work, and this is just another one of those things that you're going to have to work at and you're going to have to get good at. And, you know, just, yeah, to answer, the short answer is I just don't let people tell me I can't do nothing.
So John Adams, one of our cyber instructors, wants to know what inspires you to songwrite.
Really, there's so many things that inspire my songwriting. You know, with me and Tom joke around, but every single one of my songs that I've ever written, that I've recorded, means something to me. It touches me in some way, shape, or form. It's been a part of my story, or it, you know, I've seen it help people. We have a song coming out called "Good Old Dogs and God," and it's a song about, you know, how gods and dogs help people, you know, moving forward. They help them when they're, you know, they're hurt or they're lonely or things like that. And it's a song that I didn't write. I didn't write it, but I absolutely connect with it because I've seen people who, you know, have service dogs, who have dogs, and I've seen it completely change their lives, and I've seen it save their lives. So I wanted to record that song because I knew how much it would mean to some people. You know, for me, everything that I do, I want it to mean something to me or to you know, people out there that I know are struggling. And really, that's where my inspiration comes from. When I write, I want to write something that means something. I love telling stories in my songs. If you notice, most of my songs all have stories. Yeah, I want to write something that means something to me. So.
Lyrics first or chords?
Usually I come up with a sweet melody and with the chords. Usually it's like, man, that sounds great. Like, that's a really pretty sound. And then I write to that. But sometimes like you know, How Do You Choose was a title that I had and already knew what I wanted to write. You know, I already had that title. The Stories That They Tell is one that we're going to listen to. I had already had that title. I had already had this idea of what I wanted to do, and we put it into words. So sometimes melody.
Like the beautiful finger picking you did on that song, is that like, when did you marry that up with, I know it sounds like you were baking that idea for the song for a long time, but that finger picking that you matched with it, I mean, is that something that, did the finger picking come a lot later?
So no, that actually came from, you know, I've been incredibly blessed with the team that I am able to surround myself around, and the people that I surround myself around. And I write a lot with a guy by the name of Doug Johnson, who has become my mentor and really one of my best friends. And he's the guy who wrote 3 Wooden Crosses. He wrote Love Like Crazy for Lee Brice. He had written She Won't Be Lonely Now. He's written some amazing songs that have transformed country music. And I am blessed enough to be able to not only call him friend, but to be able to write with him on all the time. Runnin' was one that we wrote together with my good buddy Shannon Book, who is also a veteran. That melody kind of came out of Doug's head. I don't know where it came from, but that came from him. I didn't come up with that melody. I just helped write the song. And I really, anytime you write with Doug, all right, so Doug is like a caliber of songwriter, like above so many people in Nashville. and it's funny because you say that you write a song with Doug, but in all actuality, you're just kind of in the room. And like literally, like when I'm writing with him, we'll write the first verse, and I'll get stuck up on a line or two lines. I'm like, maybe we need to fix this, whatever. And then by the time I'm like, hey, what do you think about this for this line? He's like, all right, we need a bridge. We're about done. And I'm like, wait, hold on, what? I'm still working on this first verse. What is happening? And yeah, I mean, he's very, very quick when he writes a song, and he's been doing it forever, man. And it's incredible that I get to learn from him. And but yeah, that's where that Run-In song came from. It was a melody that he had in his head, and he started finger picking it, and I was like, dude, that's the way to do it. And then that part where it gets really big toward the end, it was his idea too. And I was like, dude, we have to keep that. Whatever we do, I don't care if we change the rest of the song, but that part where it goes from finger picking to like really big, moving fast, it has to stay like that. And yeah, then we wrote that song around that melody and that idea.
So before I hand it off to you to finish up, Jeff posted something that I thought I would just read because I think it's pretty powerful. So this is from Jeff, who said, Scotty, you've inspired us all with this powerful interview and magical performances. We can feel you. You inspire all of us. Give us a homework assignment. If we can do one thing tomorrow, what would you suggest we do to move others the way you've moved us tonight?
Oh God, man. Honestly, man, my biggest thing is just to really like care about people, man. Like be nice to somebody. You know, this world is filled with people who love hating on other people, and just be nice to someone, man. Like you have no idea like what someone's going through, what they're dealing with on a daily basis. Kindness can go a long freaking way, man. And really, I mean that's it. You know, I try. That's what I try to do on a day-to-day basis. You know, just be nice to somebody. You know, try even like no matter what you're doing when you're approaching somebody, like just try to do it from the standpoint of that's another human, right? And that they're dealing with crap just like you are, and they just treat people right, man. You know. But I love you, Jeff. It's a great guy right there, man. Great guy.
We obviously have to have Scotty back for another episode of Song True, a Veteran's View. What do you think?
Let's do it.
Yeah, Paul. Hey, thanks. I just want to raise awareness about Guitars for Vets. We're a 501c3 nonprofit organization that supports U.S. military veterans struggling with the challenges of PTSD by providing them with free guitars. And both one-on-one and group lessons. To date, Guitars for Vets and its nearly 800 volunteers have gifted more than 6,000 new guitars and 60,000 music lessons to those who have endured the wounds of war. All of the instruments and accessories are provided free of charge to the veterans in the program, but the cost must be met through donations. You can donate year-round at www.guitarsforvets.org. Scotty, what a real pleasure talking with you. It's been, man, from the time I started to find out who is this guy, sitting down with you over some conversations and all throughout the last several weeks. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you for sharing your stories with us.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right. And we will tell us where to find your music.
Yeah, you can go to www.scottyhastingmusic.com, or you can just go to my Instagram, my Facebook, literally anywhere. Honestly, anywhere you get your music, search Scotty Hasting. It's out there. Yeah, if you want to follow me, Scotty Hasting Music on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all that crap. You can find me all anywhere out there.
Boy, and if you're able to find a copy of the Rock to Remember performance that Scotty did and some of the recognition that was given in this most recent Rock to Remember with Guitars for Vets and Gibson Gives, catch it. It was awesome. I'm Tom Lamog for Guitars for Vets and the CAVARTS Community Veterans. Thank you for watching. We're going to watch Scotty's, his kick-ass song. I got to tell you, this is so awesome. Yeah. Make sure you check him out. And Scotty, thanks again. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank y'all.
Friday night down at the Legion Bar, Bill opened up a box of old cigars. Said on this day back in '69, I lost a best friend of mine. Kinda said that's the place I've been, but it was 2010 Afghanistan. He raised his glass, said here's to friends and their ultimate sacrifice. Yeah, the times and places, they may change, but one thing stays the same. The stories that they tell about going through hell. If you think they wouldn't do it all over again, well, you just don't know them. The memories that they own of the ones who didn't make it home, yeah, they sure do miss them, but they keep them all living in the stories that they tell. Bartender says next round's on me. I spent some time overseas. Tonight's my first night behind this bar. Bill handed him a cigar. Well, the faces and the pictures, they may change, but one thing stays the same. The stories that they tell about going through hell. If you think they wouldn't do it all over again, well, you just don't know them. The memories that they own of the ones who didn't make it home, yeah, sure do miss them, but they keep them all living in the stories that they tell. Yeah, some will laugh and some will cry. Sometimes they'll wonder why. And I've been there, so I wrote this song. I know the need to carry on. The stories that they tell about going through hell. If you think they wouldn't do it all over again, well, you just don't know them. The memories that they own are the ones who didn't make it home. Yeah, they sure do miss them, but they keep them all living in the stories that they tell. We sure do miss them, but we keep them all living in the stories that we tell.
Thanks, Scotty.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you guys so much.
Good night.
Appreciate it.
See you next time.
Have a good one.